Welcome to the Real Facts on Real Estate podcast, presented by Sean Patrick Moloney. In this series, we educate real estate agents on how to find success in the industry and grow their wealth to six-figure commissions and beyond. Now here is your host, Sean Moloney.
Welcome to episode 265, Unlock New Listings with the Suitable Housing Clause. I'm your host, Sean Patrick Moloney. Thanks for joining me this week. Guys, suitable housing clauses is one of the least understood, simple to understand concepts in real estate that can unlock more listings for you right away. I'm sure you have that seller that sits on the fence and says, I'd love to sell my place, but I gotta find a home first. And then when they go out looking at homes, they say, no one's gonna accept my offer because I'm gonna have a home sale contingency. So we're in this basically catch where we're trying to figure out, how do we sell our house? How do we buy a house? How do we make it all happen completely and not end up homeless? That's what we're going to go over here today, guys. We're going to go over all the ins and outs, the do's and don'ts, and how to protect your clients. That way they're not disappointed, and then in the future, you don't have issues. So let's get started. First off, in a limited inventory market, the sellers are always nervous about the idea of being homeless. So learning to use this is where we give them surety that they're not going to end up homeless. The suitable housing clause, it just simply states, in order for me to sell you my home, I need to first find a home. Inside the suitable housing clause, often we'll find a date, so we'll say, I need to have an accepted offer on my new home on or before X date, with a closing date on or before X date. That helps everyone understand when this suitable housing clause comes to an end. As a seller, the longer we extend it out, the more risk we're asking the buyer to take on. So that means as we continue to extend out this idea of finding a house, the buyer is still at risk of wasting all that time and wasting the money on their home inspection. So lots of times when I see suitable housing clauses, we'll see the buyer ask, can I not do my inspection until you find a house? That way they're not taking any more risk. But then that leaves the seller at a further risk because they're waiting all that time to find out how the home inspection went. As you can tell, like everything in real estate, it's about negotiations. It's about understanding how the checks and balances work. Obviously, right now, we're in a market where sellers can pretty much do whatever they want. If the buyer wants the house, they follow the rules. I know that sounds crazy, but the lack of inventory has been so extreme that sellers dictate terms. But because of that, it's made a lot of agents and sellers unaware of the pain and penalty of clauses and different things. Well, if we only do the open house from 12 to 2 Saturday and Sunday, anyone who is away this weekend can't make a bid. How's that giving a property the right service? If we add a suitable housing clause, right? Same thing. If we add a suitable housing clause, there are lots of buyers out there who will not feel comfortable working with us. While your clients may need this to protect them, talking your way through the different options is really important. One of the options would be temporary living, renting in between, or living with family members. While this isn't an option for everybody, if I was to say you got another $20,000 and all you had to do was move in your parents' house for 2 extra weeks, would they do it? The answer is sometimes yes. Understanding that they have those different options and talking about it is how we unlock more sales and more listings, because with more listings, we end up gaining more sales, whether it be buyers that met us through the listing, buyers that buy the listing selling. Obviously, listings are the holy grail of real estate. With these suitable housing clauses, guys, just be realistic. When you're going to take on a listing with a suitable housing clause, talk to the client first. What are they looking for? If they tell you, hey, I'm looking for a place that might be normally $1 million and they say I have a $500,000 budget, then you as a listing agent might not want to take on that listing. What do I mean? Well, if they can't ever find a house, then all of your work goes right down the drain. But if they're realistic people and they say, hey, I need to sell my house in order to buy a house, we're looking for a 4-bed, 2-bath, our budget's $750, here's our towns, and you go, you know what? That's accomplishable. Then you know you have something to work with. As a realtor or real estate agent, whichever side you are, whether you paid the dues or you're just in the brokerage, it doesn't matter. You have to remember your interest and the client's interest need to align, and you're the professional. You're the one to tell them, hey guys, your budget does not match the future. You're going to waste your time when it comes to selling your house because we're not going to find the house you need. Now, sometimes people get confused as a fiduciary and as a person who owes obedience. Of course, we owe obedience in certain levels when it comes to the idea of once we're in contract, but we don't need to be obedient to gain the contract. We need to tell them realistic expectations because as a fiduciary, the last thing we want to do is give someone bad financial advice, which would be to come on the market, sell your place, only to not find a place. So be willing to be firm and explain the different ways that the suitable housing clause could work out, or other situations it might be best to sell and to go into temporary housing, right? The suitable housing clause, though, can unlock a lot of different things. Now, with the buyers, because of the fact that they don't know where the seller's going, it's not going to be uncommon for them to ask you things like, hey, what are they looking for? Hey, where are they looking? Hey, what's their budget? Why? You might say, oh, it's none of their business. Well, it is their business because in order to sign that suitable housing clause, they need to know what they're getting their buyers into. And they also oftentimes want to help. They want to help you find the right listing for your seller to go buy so you can get out of the house they want to buy off you. Now, in cases where this doesn't work out, right, we do the suitable housing clause, we get to the end, and they did not find housing. That's why, as a buyer's agent, it's really important to make sure you have those dates, as in what was the closing date and what was the offer acceptance date, so you can cut free of this contract. Don't ever sign one without an end date to it, because otherwise it's very ambiguous. You got to get the attorneys involved if people can't get along and figure out how do we get out of this suitable housing clause because they didn't put a time frame for them to find anything. We'd really want to make sure that that's there. But when we do hit that time frame, unfortunately, sometimes it does happen. The sale doesn't go through. That's the point where the seller will sign a mutual release with the buyer, letting the deal go to the end, meaning it closed out, but they didn't buy the house. They'll give the deposit back to the buyer. The buyer will go their way and go find a new house. Seller will go their own way. It's a tough situation, but it happens. As a seller, understand that the buyer, they need to find housing. They can't just wait forever. So as a seller's agent, you really need to work hard to find your seller a new place to buy. I know that sounds weird, seller buying, but the truth is, as you're working for these sellers with a suitable housing clause, you need to get out there because it's your commission at risk and their housing at risk and the buyer's housing at risk. And there's a lot of angry people when these things don't work out. So make sure to put your best foot forward. Make sure to understand the suitable housing clause as well as the home sale contingency because they were used often in conjunction with each other. Understand the repercussions, understand the financial repercussions. Be able to guide your clients to its success. You'll find more listings right away. 2024 is going to be a challenging year, but learn these different clauses, learn the different suitable housing, the home sale contingency, all these other ones, and you'll close even more deals than ever. Thanks again for listening. If you haven't already done so, pound the subscribe button, jump on realfactsonrealestate.com, sign up for our Facebook group. It's free, a lot of great info in there as well. Talk to you soon. Have a great week.